Welcome back, Levelin Up Nation. This is your host and success story strategist, Brigham Blackham. I have such an amazing guest today, Bernard Quisumbing. Now, here's something you need to know about Bernard. He's also known as Budokai. He is one of the most phenomenal rappers I've ever seen, ever heard, and I absolutely love his music. He's someone that is not just passionate about what he does. He has a way to serve people at the highest level. He's an amazing business coach, and he has some impact that he's going to be sharing with us, that he's taking what he's learned being sober for multiple years and how it's supercharged his mindset, skill set, and tool set. I'm so blessed to have him on today. And I think this conversation that we're going to have will be something you can look back to and say, wow, that was a turning point for me. This is something that I'm so grateful for. And his story, the story behind the sober superstars, is going to be something that will empower you and give you some real tangible insight on what you can do to get out of the addictive cycles and turn your mindset, skill set, and tool set on high gear. So really grateful to have him on today. Welcome, Bernard, to the call. How you doing, my brother?
Holy moly, that was like a ridiculously amazing intro, almost a little bit nerve-wracking. Like, oh man, I hope I definitely provide the value that you're talking about, because that was like, boom. You've been doing this for a while, huh?
Yeah, I've done a handful of these things. Yeah.
How many? How many you got under your belt?
This is 110 this year.
Wow, nice. Nice work. Oh my goodness. All right, cool. So I don't even know where to start with this whole thing. I mean, just thank you for having me on the show first and foremost. And I don't even know where to go from here yet.
I love it.
You tell me.
I will tell you where to go, because we've got this. I've got your back,
Okay,
man.
good.
One of the things I love to hit is the vehicle that you are looking to drive is a podcast. You want to create something that's meaningful and masterful. Let's go there first. Let's figure out, what is a sober superstars? Why is that such a passion project for you? And let's start with your behind the scenes story, what creating this, because it all starts with an idea. Let's go. What was this idea and how are you making this into something
Perfect.
amazing?
Perfect. Thank you. So on October 6th, I celebrated 18 years saved by God's grace and living a sober life.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the last 18 years of my life has been the same concept of leveling up. You know, small improvements over and over. I know you know the word Kaizen. That's something that is actually in one of my names, Budokai. So in starting that, but it's been small improvements, little by little throughout the years, and just being able to live this surrendered life where now I get to serve others. But the thing that really started the whole Sober Superstars podcast is I wanted to show people that were struggling with addiction out there that there was more to sobriety than just being sober, right? Like, everybody's working on sobriety, but a lot of times it just gets to this lull, like, what do I do now? And unless you realize that there's so much more to life, there's so much more that you could actually accomplish, you could live out a full passionate life, man, sobriety sounds like crap. Like, I wouldn't even, versus all the, transitions that I was going through while in my addiction, I would rather be addicted. But if you actually can show me that there is a life much bigger than what I'm going through now that is possible for me, please and thank you. So the concept behind Sober Superstars is I wanted to find people that were absolutely crushing it in life, right? And I don't mean crushing it just monetarily. I'm talking about literally living a life full out, whether they are an amazing head of the family, whether they are amazing support of the family, whether they're a phenomenal athlete or a businessman that's just crushing it in every aspect, you know what I mean? But are doing it in a sober lifestyle, completely sober, and coming from such a dark place where they could literally share their keys to freedom for others to find it. And really what started this whole thing was a really close friend of mine who I've been really close with for a long time. I've tried to share all of the keys to freedom that I had for him, and I realized it didn't connect. There was something missing. And to this day, he's struggling with addiction, and he's one of my closest friends. And it really, really, really sucks to see him going through the ups and downs and everything like that. I mean, this friend has lived with me. This friend has, um, just been in my life and my family's life for forever now. And unfortunately, there's times where I don't get to see him
Mm.
because he's back in his cycle. And, he hides during that time as opposed to reaches out. And I totally get it. I've been there. Uh, but I really wanted to try to find something that would still even help him. And I realized I didn't have all the keys. And so what I wanted to do was interview a ton of people that were absolutely living their best lives and fully sober, fully freed, uh, doing whatever it is that they did to get there, right? Finding
Mm.
whatever keys it was to get there. And so that's the goal of Sober Superstars, to share that impact, and there's a lot of real cool ideas that we had with the name, with the concept behind it, right? Like a sober star. And so anybody that's actually in the journey of becoming sober, right?
Mhm.
Shine your light, become a sober star. Um, Anybody that becomes somebody that's helping somebody else, like a sponsor or anything like that, is a sober hero,
Mm.
wanting to help others out. And that was actually an idea that was built by Daniel Wolf. And so shout out to Daniel for that one. And then you get to become a sober superhero if you really take it out there and spread the message and really try to help others and serve others in the concept of becoming sober. And then a sober superstar is somebody that is absolutely crushing it at every facet in their life. Now giving back, now serving, finding freedom from that addiction, is actually helping others out of their addictions
Mm.
and spreading that good message.
Beautiful. I love the concept. I love that you are an embodiment of what a sober superstar is, and attracting yourself to the right people, I think, is so key when you're drawing on podcast guests, finding people that want to share their light. You have the right message. You have a meaningful purpose behind your podcast. What are some of the things you've already started that you're super stoked about? So like maybe a few of those wins. I know we talked about how you're like, oh man, at the beginning, I wasn't sure how quickly I was going to be able to get some episodes set up, but you had a little mini breakthrough last week when we were talking. Let's go there. Scheduling your first few podcasts.
Right. So I've had this idea for a little bit now, but didn't really know how to put it into fruition. I've never done podcasts before. So I was like, how do we get this together? So first and foremost, I ended up building a podcast studio, got the lighting, got the curtains, got everything set up, but didn't really push to start getting those podcasts in. We were practicing with the cameras, making sure the cameras were working perfectly. But then finally it started clicking. I was like, look, if I want to get this done, I'm going to need to set deadlines. I'm going to need to set a roadmap on how to actually get these done. So currently we are 3 podcasts in. Add that to 110 podcasts of yours, and we are totally 113, which is one of my favorite numbers. That's when me and my wife got married. So boom to that one. I was like, oh, he's 110, I'm 3. Perfect. 113.
That's
But
amazing.
so yeah, so then we started mapping it, and I told myself I would get 4 interviews. This was middle of November. I said by the end of December I'll get 4 podcasts in. Well, this is the podcast number 4. So, but you know what I mean? Or recording number 4. I've already done 3, and we're just touching halfway through December. What I realized was, if you put a roadmap together and you create consistent daily activities to whatever goal it is that you want to achieve, you'll achieve whatever it is you want. And part of that, I think, is what helped me throughout my years of going through sobriety.
Mm.
There was a lot of things that my cousin, who was my mentor at the time, helped me put into place that literally replaced all of the dead space, I guess. Idle hands is the devil's playground,
Mm.
especially for an addict. And yeah, because that playground ends up becoming the world of addiction and going out, getting more drugs, getting high, tweaking, especially for me. And so he helped me replace that with amazing CDAs. I didn't like them at first. Some of them I
Yeah.
did not like. I mean, he was waking me up at 5:30 in the morning to do Bible study, and I was not ready for that. And I barely I barely ever got up at an early time during that time, but it was something that was put into place, and it really changed my life. He had everything spreadsheet for me. It was kind of crazy, and
That's awesome.
OCD, but now
Hmm.
I adopted it, and I'm spreadsheet everything.
That's
So,
amazing. So you talked about CDAs, which is consistent daily activities or action.
hmm right.
This is a game changer.
hmm
Anybody that truly adopts consistent daily action for the values that you care about will be able to achieve anything that they set their mind to. In my coaching practice, I focus on the focus method. Follow one course until success. It's so important that if you delineate, this is what I want, and you put those actions in to make sure that you realize that anything you thought was possible is, because you're doing the inputs. I think of it like a blender, right? Not a blender. What do you call it? A juicer. If you put celery in, you're going to get celery juice out. If you put an apple in, you're going to get apple juice out. Whatever you put into it, you're going to get out. But if you only put it in a little bit every once in a while, a little tiny bit of input, you only get a little tiny bit out. So for you, Bernard, what are those inputs that you're putting in every single day to not only stay sober, but to say, how do I get to that superstar level? How do I consistently find those things that push me, drive me, want me to be better, do better, have more? I want to hear what your consistent daily actions are.
All right. Well, so there's a few different categories to my consistent daily actions. First and foremost, for anybody out there that wants to take on consistent daily activities and actually put it on there's a really great app called Grit, and it tracks all of it. You could group certain daily activities for whatever mission it is that you're driving towards, or you could just keep it wide open. For me, I have my morning routines, which is breath work when I first get up. I track
Mm,
my weight, so I step on a scale to make sure that I'm keeping in line. Um, I make my bed. That's a must. Brush my teeth. Although the brushing teeth and stuff like that, I don't put on the daily tracker activity. But so those are the first things to start, and then I start my day watch after breath work with watching a TFP video. And for all any of you that aren't don't know anything about that, that's the final percent. Make sure to download the app. We should put a
mm.
link for that actually
Yes,
on
we'll put
here.
it in the description. It's phenomenal.
For TFP Connect, it's an app that has tons of amazing content that will literally help you grow and transform your life. So I watch one of those videos a day, and then I have to live that out. Whatever it is that's on that video, I have to live that out for that day. Okay. And then I have my 33 push-ups, 33 ab, and then I have my pull-ups. So these are things that I do every single day just for my health and wellness. Oh, body stretch and weightlifting as well. But body stretch and weightlifting is 6 days a week instead of, I do have a rest day in there. And you could set it up that way too. But then, for example, for the sober superstars, now I have to um, talk to somebody about it and try to get somebody scheduled every single day. So in other words, instead of just letting days go by without bringing it up or putting work into it, this is now an everyday activity that I have to talk about the podcast and try to get somebody on the interview.
Mm,
Then on the social media side of it with my Instagram, I have to make sure to add a sober account and interact with a sober account. And then I also have to create one IG post a day. So right now, since we've only recorded 3 podcasts so far, we're sending it out to editors. So we're getting all of the edited reels. Once those edited reels come back to me, what I'm going to do is then also create a podcast schedule where I put that as my daily activity of posting a reel, maybe 1 to 3 times a day, depending on the amount of content we actually pull from the long form. So that's going to create the activity, and then also share it and, interact with all of our people to make sure to help spread it, especially if it brings value to people. And
mm.
I believe it does. So that's that. And then I also have the Infinite Serve Mastermind that we're working on. And so the daily activity is I invite somebody to a community event every single day. And I mean, that's every single day. I talk about it. And then I talk about the TFP Connect app every
Mm.
single day to
That's
somebody.
beautiful.
And so those are some of the consistent daily activities that keep that going, and it's phenomenal. I mean, you have those on a checklist. There's some days, 10,000 steps a day is one of them, and there'll be times where it's like 9 o'clock at night and I've only got 8,200 steps on my watch, and I'm like, crap. So I'm sitting there walking around my kitchen island
Just getting those
until I
steps
get
in.
10,000 steps. And if I didn't track it right, or if I didn't map it and keep a journal per se, or an app to track it, look, there's so many days that you're just like, right? But if you could see it and you could map it, it makes it a lot easier to be like, and then that character piece that shows up where you're like, I could just click it, but what does that do for me?
Nothing.
Or I could just take the steps and walk and keep walking until I hit it. And really, it changes everything within you. It changes the amount of input you put in definitely changes the output that comes out of your life. So it's phenomenal when you put into work.
I love how broad your strokes are every single day, but also how specific. You're saying, yes, I want 10,000 steps. You didn't come up with that just willy-nilly. You said, this is something that is part of who I am, not just what I do. One of the things that my friend Greg, and he's a great example of this, what he says is, it's not just about who you want to be, it's who you are plus what you do will become what you have. Be plus do equals have. And I love that concept, because a lot of times people don't have what they want, not because they couldn't get it. It's because they haven't become that person yet that can oops the amazing things in their life that they want. And as you're being consistent in doing the right things, you will start to live in integrity of who that person is. So I know you are on this journey of growing as a speaker. I am so impressed with how you spoke at our last event. Let's talk about what it takes to go from page to stage. This is something I'm passionate about. The whole purpose of my coaching program is to help people really figure out what they can do to open up their voice, focus it, get into action, and take the right ideas that they have, codify them in a way that allows them to share their story and speak it into existence. So how have you been able to do that? And let's talk about your journey.
That one, I'm going to have to actually level down my ego, because my ego can get in the way, and give a shout out to my wife, Jamie. She is the reason that presentation happened the way that it did. When I first was assigned to do it and given the opportunity to be able to speak on the stage, which was super exciting, I went all in, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to make it this. I'm going to make this many slides, blah, 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 all this and that. It's going to be so dope. And I'm going to make it so articulate and cool the way that I flow with it, and the questions that I'm going to ask for crowd participation and interaction, all this madness. I mean, there is so much madness. And after the first initial idea of excitement, I just started digging myself deeper into a hole that was just like ugly. It was so ego-based. I can't even tell you. Like, it was like, ooh, look at me and the message that I'm sharing, as opposed to, hey, this message can really serve you, right? And this message has impacted my life, and I want to share that with you. It was such a weird dynamic, and it got ugly to the point where my wife was like, hey, babe, let me hear it. I want to hear it, so we could, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to keep it at arm's length. I didn't even want to practice it. Like, it was so bad. And I was like, something's off here. So I'm trying to fix it instead of just deleting it, right? Like, I'm like, no, I've already put so much work in. I just got to edit it, and I'll find a way to make it flow. It's like, so finally, it was like a week before the event, and I'm like, oh man, I'm getting the anxiety, because when it's not flowing and you're putting it, and then you're not doing the work because you're not enjoying it, right? Like, there's a total disconnect, and the anxiety sets in, because when you're in action, anxiety barely has any room to come into play, right? So I'm sitting there finally, and then my wife was like, we're going downstairs now, we're going over it. She was like, the kids are nap time. This is the only time we're going to have. I was like, how about later when they go to, she's like, nope, now. I was like, ah, crap. So we go downstairs. I start reading it, and she's like, no, no, absolute. And I'm like, oh man, I knew it. It wasn't going good. And she's like, no, this is all crazy. And so at that moment, I think there was 26 slides. I ended up with 3 left. Because the one slide that hit her and that she wanted me to base the whole thing on was the part where I literally said, God didn't put me in this position to take advantage of people, right? This is sales. God did not put me in this sales position to take advantage of people. He gave me this opportunity so I could serve his people.
Mm-hmm.
And that transition for me during my career in sales was probably the biggest impact that changed everything for me. So she was like, I want you to go with that. That's what you need to work on. And then she literally mapped the whole thing for me and was like, you should start with this. You should talk about this. You should do this. And literally, that's how the presentation ended up, by me listening to my wife. And you know what? The ideas, God obviously put her in my life for a reason. Only ego could separate that. So no, thank you. I'm so grateful to have her in my life. You've already had her on one of your lives. You already know. You see the light showing from her. She's straight up glow with JQ because she glows.
Yeah.
She
Jamie's amazing.
absolutely glows. Yeah.
She has such an exuberance about how she shows up in life. And one of the things I loved when we did a live together, she talked about the difference between people being fancy and being beautiful. You're always beautiful, but sometimes you choose to be fancy. I was like, yes, that's what I want my girls to take away from this. I'm so grateful for that concept, because that's why we get dolled up, if you would. We put on the suit, the tie, and we make ourselves look as presentable as possible because we want to be fancy in that moment, because that's when it's appropriate.
Right.
So I loved her.
Yeah, that differentiation, or you know what I mean, in knowing the difference, you're always beautiful, right? You gotta know that, and you really gotta discover that. Fancy is just let's get dolled up and let's have fun for the occasion and for the moment. But you are already beautiful, and I think that was amazing when she discovered that.
And one of the things I'm so stoked about your speaking career, how you've written your book, all these different things, you're on this trajectory of doing the right things at the right moments, and you're willing to lean into the work. So Bernard, where do you see yourself in 5 years with Sober Superstars, with your coaching, all of these? What's your vision? What are you looking to build?
So can I go as grandiose as my brain goes?
I want to hear the big vision, because here's the thing. Nobody knows what tomorrow is going to be. We might as well dream big. Let's hear the big dreams.
Right. So as you know, and as you're a part of, the final percent is going to be taking over the world with personal growth and development and business masterminds, as well as vitality growth and community. It's just going to take over. The leadership that Greg provides, and all of the Infinity coaches, and then all of the people that are now, really stepping into their zone of geniuses within the group. This is going to be amazing. And Sober Superstars is going to create an element of support for hopefully millions and millions of people that are struggling with addiction. I've got plans to create an app that will provide CDAs for people going through sobriety, because, right, like, think of it this way: NA or group meetings, huge proponent for somebody that's wanting to stay sober. And the more that they do that, the better chances that they have for staying sober. But that's it. What about reading small portions? What about a TFP video? What about an Audible book suggestion that will help and outline and guide people into sobriety? What about a CDA of do something for somebody else today? These are all things that will transform people from the inside out, And so if we could create something that will give them an outline and something really simple to be able to do that, I think it'll be amazing.
That is phenomenal.
And then to be able to speak about that on stage, to be able to speak about serving others on stage. Again, the whole transition on how sales transformed my life, or how God used sales to transform my life, and really turn it around from manipulating and taking advantage of others to really serving his people. And promise, once you switch to that modality, God provides the resources,
Mm.
period. It really is infinite. And so once you really live out in that full service, God provides the resources.
Service is so important. When you have a service mentality, you go above and beyond in how you can help somebody. If you're all about the money, if you're all about, is this going to help me? People can smell it on your breath. You know, you've got that commission breath, or you feel like you're in a pitch fest, or you're getting pitch slapped all the time.
Right.
It's so important to lean into service. One of the things I think every single person that's in sales, which technically all of us in some respect are in sales, we sell every single day. Kids on making sure they brush their teeth, our spouse on whether or not we want to go on this date here or that restaurant. Every single time we are thinking about sales, if we can swap that out to service, like you talked about, our mentality, our intonation, our intentions are actually different because of the language we choose. And I'm a language guy, so I love that reassociation from sales to service. What is one of the biggest insights that you've been able to come away from writing your book, codifying your experiences? I would love to hear what that experience was like for you, because not everybody finishes a book. A lot of people start books. I feel like there's so many people that start books. Not everybody finishes. You finished. Let's hear what your experience was because of that.
So again, in the sense of, the book is called Stop Selling, Serve, and Get Paid What You're Worth. Super long title. It's really just stop selling, serve. But the caveat is you do get blessed for it, right? Like, let's just put it this way. Let's just say you had to literally say your intentions out loud. And I talked about this at the presentation, right? You have to be able to do that because it's got to be from
Mm.
within you, right? And if your intention is to take advantage of a customer or just to get a sale, not really caring about the customer, you're going to compromise so many different facets of it. So let's
Mhm.
just say you had to be completely blunt and out front and tell a customer exactly what it is. So, hey, Mr. Customer, how are you doing today? Hey, listen, I'm here to just try to do whatever it takes to sell you a car. And I'm going to try to make you pay the most for it. So I get a huge commission, gross commission, and everything like that. I'm going to try to find you a car. I don't even care if it's perfect or not, but I want to make a deal today because I've got bills to pay and I'm kind of, I'm kind of late on my house bill and I could get kicked out next week. So I really just want to sell you a car. Doesn't really matter. Right. Like, and the sad thing is a lot of people really have that because of the life that they're living currently or the
Mm.
situation that they're in. But imagine all you really cared about was to really take care of a client, really take care of a customer, and do whatever it took to help them
Mm.
solve their problems. So if they need a car, to figure out what it really was that they were struggling with, what they needed, or what they needed to find to solve a problem, and you give them your best enthusiastic aspect and telling them, hey, listen, I want you to buy a car from me. But the truth is, I'm just going to do everything I possibly can to take such amazing care of you, whether or not you choose to buy a car from me. I'm going to do it with the best attitude. I'm going to be here to serve you. Even if you choose to buy a car from somebody else and you feel like something's a little weird, call me. I got your back because I'm here to serve you. If I, and I know this from the depths of my core, if I don't get a sale from you, God will provide the next. Right? God will provide the next, no matter what. And so imagine being able to actually communicate that
Mm.
straight up to a customer. What are the chances you think they would actually want to buy anywhere else or from someone else or to do business with anybody else? Right?
Mm.
Even if it costs a little bit more. I've had customers that were like, hey, this place is doing about $500 less than your price. Can you do that? And I'd be like, look, if that deal matters that much to you, if that $500 matters that much to you, I want you to get the best deal that you feel is the best deal. So go there. And if there's any weird stuff, hey, again, call me. But really their reaction, nah, you know what? I'm just gonna give, you can't do it. That's okay. I'm gonna come to you. And yes, they will pay more. It's just like tipping, right?
Mhm.
If you're at a restaurant and you get horrible service and you can tell that the person doesn't care what they're doing, they mess up your order. They don't even, they're not even really listening. They're just doing their job to get through their day, right? Or you have that server who's going over the top, listening to what it is that you're asking for. If there's a slight mess up, so quick to actually make it right. Who do you want to tip like all the money to? Right?
Yeah.
Because they're bringing value to your life. They're actually caring and serving, right? That's with anything that you do. That's whether you're selling a product, selling a service, selling anything. If you can solve problems and you can provide such great value with that kind of heart, I promise you, the world is going to open up all its resources to make sure that you can continue doing that.
Mm. Givers gain. That's what I'm
Yep.
hearing. You
Yep.
hear, how am I going to serve? And then sharing your intention out loud. I think that's a beautiful way of checking yourself. Sometimes we need a checkup from the neck up. We
Right.
have to look and say, am I showing up with I need to extract value, or am I showing up with I want to provide value? I want to give and give and give and give with no expectation of getting, because you know that God will provide. You know that you follow the numbers, you put enough people into that system, you provide the service. It's just a numbers game.
Right.
Eventually somebody, yeah, go ahead.
The crazy thing is the expectation isn't that I'll get from you.
Mm-mm.
My expectation is I know God will provide. That's a faith, that's a trust, that's a knowing that allows me to just go full out in serving somebody else. But if I'm going, hey, will I get something back from that person?
Mm-mm.
Look, the chances of you getting back from that person, or I mean, you've seen the stats, especially in car sales, you're looking at 25%. For somebody that's really good, maybe 40%. But so so all of a sudden you're thinking that 60%, am I getting something back from this? If you know that there's a 60% fail rate, how hard is it to give your full out?
Mm.
Right? But if you change the barometer of knowing and expectation that God will continuously provide, especially if you just keep showing up and going full out in what it is that you're supposed to do and what God's calling you to do and serve, nothing stops you. Nothing
It,
slows you down.
this just reminded me of some of the ways that people look at their reviews in any business. Your lifeblood of whether or not your reputation is living on is how people talk about you when you're not around.
Right.
If you provide amazing service, whether they buy from you or not at that point, they become amazing reps for your message. You say, oh, you know what? It wasn't the right time yet for me to buy this car, but man, Bernard served me. He gave me his best. And they're like, well, I'm looking for a car. Well, go talk to Bernard. That's the type of service that I want to provide, that I want to give as well. You have people feel special, know that you care about them, and you out care them. You put the word wow into their mouth. I love how Greg says that too. That's one of my favorite concepts about business is if we can be consistently out caring our competition, eventually we will have that value come back to us. But we're not doing it so that we can get, we give so that we can have that outpouring of service and contribute.
Right.
So, Bernard, if you could give encouragement to someone that is a brand new salesman, I know this is your skill set. You absolutely love sales. What would be the one piece of encouragement you would give to a brand new guy? Someone that you're like, man, I just want to figure out how to do this sales thing a little bit better. What's your one piece of encouragement? It could be something that you shared in your book. What's that piece of encouragement for a brand new salesman?
This one's going to get a lot of slack for it, but the truest part about it is don't do it for the money. Do not do it for the money.
Mm.
And then literally learn every single thing you possibly can to be the very best at your craft and position. Whatever it is that you're selling, know the products really well so that you could provide tons of value for those that are asking questions about it.
Mm.
When it comes to the techniques and psychology of sales, read the books, learn, study, practice in the mirror, do everything that it takes to be the very, very, very best that you can be. but do it with the heart of service, not with the heart of greed or the aim for money. Promise you, the money will pour in.
Very simple advice, very actionable, because if you are constantly getting better and you have specific data that you can give and provide insight on your products and services, you're speaking from competence, and competence breeds confidence. That's where your voice comes from. If you don't have a competent idea of how that product or service can benefit somebody, you haven't done the research. So I love that you brought that up. Here's something that I want to hear your take on. When I was listening to Steve Larson, he's a great guy I had on my podcast before. He was in door-to-door sales. He did pest control. When he was brand new, he didn't know enough about the product to put in your eye, but he was a crazy good salesman. And then he overlearned to the point that he started to overshare.
Right.
How do you balance having all of this knowledge and not oversharing?
Oh, simple. Care about what the customer needs. Then connect the dots with the knowledge that you have. That's it. Don't sit there and avalanche somebody with so much snow of knowledge. Like literally care and ask, be curious, find out what the customer needs. Know exactly what their needs are. Take all of your knowledge and the pieces that fit to fill in those gaps. That's it. But stop there.
Stop there after. I think that's the key. Sometimes people unzip their mouth. I know I've done this in the past. You unzip your mouth. You're like, well, this is all you need. And then you just start feature, benefit. And then they're like, I am overwhelmed and I no longer want to buy from you.
Right. Look, if you're telling me about stuff that I never even asked you about, or we never even communicated was part of my needs, now you're just trying to sell me. The difference between here, you found out that I needed this, you found out that I needed safety, you found out that I needed something that I would feel really protected for my son because I got into a car accident before, and that was, you know what I mean? And then I focused on all of the things that mattered to you and shared with you the amazing features, benefits, and created the picture of protection for you regarding safety. Stop there.
That's it. You give them what they want rather than
what they need.
I think I want and I need.
Exactly.
Beautiful. And it's simple. Sometimes we overcomplicate things.
Get curious.
Get curious. So good.
Well, that's Bernard, in relationships. That's in everything.
That's right? So good. That's like, so good.
Especially a marriage. Like I can tell you so many things that I think is right for you. Oh, goodness gracious. How does that work?
Oh, man.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Well, Bernard, here's one of the other things I want to touch on since we have this time together. You've got an array of a background. Your experiences have led you to this point. Now that you have all of these concepts, all of these different ideas, you have this great framework of saying consistent daily actions. What is the impact that you want to make in the world? I know you talked about with Sober Superstars, you want to be out there for 1 million people. What's the impact you want to make with your family, with the people that are in your relationships, in those communities?
It's actually pretty simple. And this is for anyone and everyone that I interact with or come in contact with or anything like that. My hope and my goal is that no matter where you are in life, that I could just lift you up just a little bit better, whether it's a tiny smile, whether it's such an impactful statement that can transform your life, or whether it's literally reaching down to help you up through an addiction or anything like that. That's it. That's wonderful. Literally it.
To be a hand up, not a handout, if I could say it in another way. That's beautiful. That's the whole purpose of this podcast too, is to level up. Everybody, wherever you're at, everybody has that opportunity. It's coming together. This is why we're so connected, Bernard. We have similar missions. And as we are living into our purpose, we are giving other people permission to live in purpose and on purpose. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing and caring so much about who you are serving and consistently giving it your all. I love that you go the final percent in all that you do. I'm doing my best to go the final percent in everything I do. So grateful for all of the beautiful insights that we had. I'm so stoked for your sober superstars. I want to be one of those sober heroes. You know, I love that. And eventually I'll get to that sober superhero. I love that status that you're creating. It is such a wonderful platform. Any question that I didn't ask you that I should have? I want to hear from you one more
No,
time.
not at all. Like, you saw me at the beginning. I was like, please direct, because my brain. So thank you for having the experience and the know-how to guide this into a good conversation, because I
My
would have just been
pleasure.
all over the place.
My pleasure. One thing that we didn't touch on yet that I actually wish I would have brought up a little earlier. You are an amazing rapper. You have a amazing stage presence. You're great at physicality and the way that you weave in words and actions to get your message across. For those a little bit more reserved people, what did it take to be able to weave your words and your hands, all that physicality, and put it to work for you?
So actually, this one's it started from actually tweaking from my meth addiction, my hands.
Yeah.
And it would always be tweaking, doing something. And this was a repurposing of it to make it for something amazing instead.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? But back then it was just the tweaking and the hands and stuff like that. I'm really glad that God used that and transformed it into the amazing dynamics that I do when I actually rap. And I actually do like so many, it's almost a dance.
Yeah.
You know, with the words that I use. And now it's something that I just use dynamically. I mean, Greg said, like, even when I was speaking, it looked like I was rapping with the way that I do my hand movements and stuff like that. But yeah, no, that's more of a blessing than anything else. It was just something that kind of shifted. I did not plan that, nor did I map it.
I love how God takes some of our weaknesses and tweaks them just enough that they become blessings, if we're willing to have him work through us.
Yeah, that's the surrender piece.
That's
a
that
must.
surrender. So thank you for revealing that wherever we were, we have the ability to level up. We have the ability to change our mindset, skill set, and tool set, and that it's worth the effort. So thank you so much. Budokai, Bernard Quisumbing, the man. Go check out Sober Superstars. If you know anybody that is in need of some extra insight, extra ideas on how they can become sober, or you know some amazing sober superstars that need to connect with Bernard, reach out to me or reach out to Bernard. We want to make sure that they can be highlighted because we want to help more people. His mission's aligned with my mission. I love this guy. Go follow him on social media. He is the man. Thank you so much, Bernard. And have a wonderful, blessed day, guys. God bless.
God bless.